Hi there everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Express Yourself series. This is the final episode in the series called Express Yourself, where we will be focusing on how to use regular expressions with Informatica Cloud. Now, some of you may have had various situations when you've been using Informatica Cloud where you need to be able to either identify some information that may need to be changed, may need to identify whether certain subsets of data are actually correct, and a very quick and easy way of doing this is by using regular expressions. Now, the example I'm going to show today, and we're going to talk through what exactly a regular expression is all based around something that we all need to do within our Salesforce, and that is verify the quality of things such as email addresses, or maybe the date format, maybe it's a number format inside your Salesforce org. Now, before we actually get into the detail of how we do that, let's just take one step back and then just confirm and make sure that everyone understands what a regular expression is and what type of information do we actually use it on. So if you can all see the slide I have on the screen now. Wikipedia's definition of what an actual regular expression is: it's something that provides a concise and flexible means for matching strings of text, such as particular characters, words, patterns, or patterns of characters. Now, what is that exactly? What is an actual example of a particular string of characters, words, or patterns of characters? Okay, how does that actually look? So a typical example would be something like a date. So, as we all know, there are differences between different countries where you may have the day, month, year. Some have the month and then the actual day and then the year. If we start looking at numbers, there are different formats of numbers. So if you're changing from a string value into a numerical value, you may have to do some kind of matching, okay, and actually remove some of the actual text characters that present a number. Something else is a postcode. If you want to keep all of your postcodes specifically in the UK in a specific format, you could use a regular expression, okay, to do some kinds of checks on these values. And finally, the most common one, and the one we're actually going to do today, is email. Okay, so I know this is the same for our own business in Informatica Cloud. We do a lot of interactions with our customers over email, and it actually means that we're either going to lose time, or we're actually going to or we won't be able to give as good a level of service if we don't have the correct contact details for our customers. So this is a very good way to ensure that the quality of your emails is always maintained, and that you always have that single point of contact with the customer via their email, and you know it actually is a reliable piece of information. So let's get started. So as before with all of the other examples that we've done today, I already have a Informatica Cloud account set up where I have some pre-cooked expressions. I also have a Salesforce demo account where I have all of the accounts that we've been using over the last few episodes. Okay, so some of those might look quite familiar. And then inside those accounts, I've got all of the various details about my account, but specifically, there's one specific field that we're interested in today, and that is the regular expression field. Okay, so I've actually set this up specifically, so let's just make the font a little bit bigger so everybody at home can see that clearly. So I actually have a regular expression field that I've created here where we have email, and that is a standard email, and then I've created a field called email verified, and then depending on the outcome of the regular expression function that we're going to run, we will either get a verified or please verify this value. Okay, now that's for very good reason. Now, purely for pragmatic reasons and to make the lives of your users in Salesforce much easier, I have created a view under my account. So if I just head back up to the top level for my accounts, and open that up, we're going to see how I've created a view that actually contains some parameters to say, please only show me email accounts that have been verified, and also conversely, show me email accounts that have not come up. Those accounts have come up now, and I'm just going to change the view to, let's look at verified emails initially. So we should only get the actual accounts that have been verified by Informatica Cloud using the regular expression we're going to take a look at. So those accounts have been returned now, and we can see straight away that we've got the email verified field that we're actually searching these accounts on, and then all of the accounts that have actually come through, their emails are pretty much, just an eyeball. You can see that they're all correct. Now I can switch between verified and unverified, and straight away I have a very good idea of where I need to focus my efforts on. So we can see here some of our accounts have actually got, that's just a domain name. This is missing the .co.uk or the .com. Another one has actually got extra characters, so that's also invalid. So now we can start to see how useful it is to have a regular expression of this nature. Now I'm going to just jump back to all accounts, and we're going to have a look at two accounts. We'll look at Bentley Motors first, and let's scroll down and have a look at the regular expression. So what we'll do now is I'll actually clear out the verified and just save that. Okay, so we have no verification for Bentley Motors. And then for the same thing, we'll go into the Dyson account and we will do the same thing. We'll just remove the email verified. Okay, so in both cases, those are both, they look like, perfectly normal email addresses. So we could, in Dyson, we could actually just edit Dyson and let's put in an invalid character in here. So let's put in something like a dollar at the end of this. So that would actually make that email invalid. Okay, so we'll save that. Alright, head back to our accounts. And now what we would do is let's go into Informatica Cloud and start building a regular expression. So I log into Informatica Cloud, I go to my Data Services tab, and I'm going to open my regular expression task. Now we'll go through all the standard steps that we usually go through. We have a source, we choose where the actual data is coming from. It doesn't look like my secure agent is running, so let me just get that up and running quickly. Okay, so that has now come through with the source accounts that we're actually loading. So this could be a database, it actually could be another SaaS application, it could be SAP, so really no limitation on where the data is coming from. We're then sending it into Salesforce as an account, and then we get to field mappings where all of the magic happens. Now the way we do this is exactly as we've done for previous expressions. You need to open up the expression editor, and we're specifically looking at email and email verified. So for my email field, I've just brought across the email address and I've just dropped it straight in there without any checks. Now for the actual email verified field, what I've done is you can actually see our regular expression now exists. So what I've done, if we break this out, I'm going to open up a notepad and let's see if I can clean this up and break this out for you, just to make a bit of sense of all the various millions of characters. Okay, so we have an if statement that lives on the outside. Okay, and the first check we do is we say, okay, if the email address is greater than a certain value, then okay, run the regular expression check. Okay, if it doesn't, we just don't do anything. Okay, we just ignore it. Now what we're doing is I'm going to just break out all of this stuff because it actually makes it quite complex to read. So I'm just going to pull out the regular expression, and then we'll slowly build up the rest of the query. Okay, so let's take this out. So that's our regular expression in there. We'll just make this a bit smaller so we don't focus on that for now. And now what we do is the actual query that we're using is called Regex. So this is the actual method that we're going to pass in. Okay, so Regex. The next thing we're going to do is we need to pass in the actual email address. So we're passing in the email address, that's the actual value of the email that we want to check, or the name of the variable that we actually want to check. So we'll just put that in as our input value. Okay. And then what we do is we pass in the actual string containing the entire regular expression. Okay, so I'll make this nice easy color to read. We'll just make that, we want to stand out a bit. Make that purple. Okay, and then finally we close off our entire expression. Now, there's some pretty important parts to the actual regular expression and how it starts. Now, I don't think, in the interest of time, we can go into the actual science of building a regular expression. It does take a lot of dedication on your part. Okay, it is something that you would have to sit down and really experiment with to get a feel for how it actually works. I myself have been using them for a couple years now, and I still don't feel any closer to understanding them. Okay. I mean, if I could give you a quick rundown of what's actually going, this is probably the easiest part of the regular expression. I have a bracket here stating that this is the first statement that I'm checking, or set of characters that I'm checking, up to this @ symbol. So I'm basically looking at everything before the @ symbol, and I'm actually defining the range of characters that are allowed to be present. So I've said, anything from lowercase a to z, anything from uppercase A to Z, then from the letters 0 to 9, and then a range of special characters. Okay, now after that, this is where things start to get a bit tricky with email addresses. You can have a web domain. There's a multitude of different styles of web domains, so you need to actually encapsulate as many of these possibilities inside your regular expression match. In my own example here, what I've done is I'm actually doing a check up to several domains, so you could have up to about, I think it's 5 subdomains. So 5 subdomains would be something like I am over here dot, and then one of the domain enders. Okay, so this, I believe, actually is a valid email domain. So it really is, as long as there's a DNS entry somewhere on the internet, that would be a valid email. The challenge for you is how to actually present that in a coherent manner and capture that inside your regular expression. Now, this regular expression you are welcome to use. If you do need any further regular expressions, or if you want to try and find different types of regular expressions, there is a very, very good online resource called Regex Library. So Regex Lib, and this is a very, very good community for picking up regular expressions for all sorts of different scenarios. So you can actually post your questions here, and the community are very, very good at answering or helping people get their heads around regular expressions. So this is our regular expression, and what we're going to get from this regular expression is a result of either 0 or above. So it's either going to be 0 for there are actually no matches, your string doesn't actually match the pattern that we defined, okay, do what you want with it, or it's actually going to be a range of from 1 or up, based on how many matches it finds inside your string. So if we actually zip this all up again, and we put it all back into a single statement, we've got our regular expression match. So we're saying, okay, if the value of 0 is returned, so let's jump back to our big monstrous statement here. If the value is returned, okay, and it's equal to 0, alright, so we actually have our regular expression match in here. I'm just going to paste that back in so we can see it. Okay, so if this actual function returns or is equal to 0, okay, so I've got an equals here. Alright, let's try break that out even more. Still confusing to me. Okay, so if our regular expression value is equal to 0, so that's all we're concerned about. Alright, so this is our if statement. Remember those ifs? We did them a couple episodes back. So in our if statement, if it's equal to 0 and this expression equates to true, then place the value please verify inside our verify email. Now alternatively, if it's not equal to 0, meaning it gets a value that is 1 or above, then put in the value verified. So this is a way for us to actually concretely define what is an actual match for our regular expression and what isn't. Now the real risks that you're probably going to run in this exercise is your regular expression. Getting that regular expression right is a fine art and does take a lot of practice. You really just need to keep practicing and practicing and practicing. If you want to be really resourceful, you can actually just go to a website and grab the JavaScript regular expression check. Okay, so a lot of guys do regular expression checks in the actual browser using JavaScript. You can just nab their regular expression and adjust it for Informatica Cloud as well. It also works. So now what I've done is after the results of this, I'm only running this if statement. Okay, if this value equates to true. So this if statement is inside another if statement. You see that? That if statement over there is actually inside another bigger if statement, and that if statement will decide whether it runs the regular expression check or it just leaves an empty value. So this is for the purposes of, say for instance, you don't actually have a value to begin with. You obviously don't want to say please verify this value if there's nothing there, because there really is nothing to check. Okay, so I hope that was clear and that all of this code actually makes sense to you and you can get an idea of how to use the regular expression match. There is also an example available on our community website. So if you head over to communities.informatica.com and then navigate to the Informatica Cloud community, you will find that there is an example of this email regular expression as well. Okay, so let's jump back into our Informatica Cloud task, and we have our expression that is now running and it's now living inside the expression editor. We could validate that as well just to make sure it's all okay. The next step is to pretty much run the task. So I'm going to go next and then save the task, and then let's run that regular expression. Okay. And then let's wait for the expression to actually run on all of our pieces of data and then actually save with the results inside Informatica Cloud. Now I was actually going from a flat file into Salesforce, so those changes that I made actually aren't going to make any difference. So let's refresh all accounts, and we were looking at Dyson and OXO. Okay, so we'll go to Bentley Motors and we'll look at that, and we can see straight away we've got the verified has come through. If we go to let's go down to OXO. OXO Foods. Okay, that one shows us that it's actually saying please verify, and we can see that we've got a funny special character in there that's not valid for an email address. Okay, now I'm just conscious I actually pulled that value from a flat file into Salesforce. What if we had Salesforce as the source and Salesforce was the target? So let's quickly adjust that task and have a play and see what we can do. So let's go back into our regular expression, and I'll just make a copy of this. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll edit that regular expression, and we'll say regular expression, let's say update. And what we're going to do is we're not going to do an insert or anything like that, just a straight update. Now, what I'm going to do differently here is I'm going to use Salesforce as my target and my source. So we'll go for Salesforce, and we'll say the account object is good enough. We're then going to say the target is also a Salesforce account. And then what we're going to do is, for this actual mapping, I'm just going to grab this expression because I want to actually keep that. So I'm just going to copy that. And then we'll clear all the mappings. Just refresh it to make sure that has all the right fields. Now all we need to do when we do an update is if you're using Salesforce as a source and a target because you're updating things, all you need to do is just link the IDs. So that just means that it'll always update the same value that we're working with. Now the next field we need to do is we need to play with that email address. So email verified. Let's edit that. And in the email verified we're going to take email address, okay, do the regular expression match and then say whether it's verified or not. Now the field in Salesforce is called email underscore C, so we need to just update that. So we'll say email underscore C, and then we'll do the same thing for all references to that email address. So just validating that, we can see everything is okay. And now we're ready to update all of our data. So let's save that. Oh, we haven't said where it's going to run. We want it to run on my own laptop. I save that, and we're ready to do the update. Now, the difference between what I've done here is if I now went and changed this value, so if I remove that, we save that. If I go back to all my other accounts, like Bentley Motors, and I remove the verified values, and maybe I also add something in here. Okay, like I add, for instance, a second @ symbol. Okay, now I can do the same thing for a third record as well. We'll do it for Darsin. Remove the verified, and we'll save that. So now if I run this task, so run that update, we can now see that Informatica Cloud will go into Salesforce. Now, in a typical scenario, you would say, give me anything that's been created or changed since the last time we ran this task. As soon as I get those results, I'll then actually write the results back up into Salesforce and then update the values that are held within there. So if we remember correctly, we've removed all of the values for Dyson, Bentley, and Oxo Foods. So if we go into Dyson now, check that out, we can see it's now been verified. So it's actually updated the value for us. If we go to Bentley, we should see the same behavior. So we've seen that it's picked up that that email address is actually incorrect and it's asked us to verify it. And then finally, Oxo Foods, we've seen exactly the same behavior is taking place. Okay, so I would say at this point, this concludes how to use regular expressions, and thanks very much for joining us for the last 3 episodes of the Express Yourself series. If you do have any questions or anything like that, or you'd like to sign up for a trial, you can go to informaticacloud.com, or you could just email myself. And thanks very much for participating. Good day.